FY23. Begin the pledge of allegiance and the flag is pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. We will begin with a roll call. Sam Bellman, present. Betsy Ball.
Here.
Walter Green Morris. Here. Christian Coates. Here. Angela White.
Here.
June Dodenbaum.
Here.
And I'm Matthew Ham. So each time is represented. I'll just begin with a couple of comments. First of all, welcome. I think in past years we've had 12 to 15 people at this meeting. We've been done in 7 minutes. I don't think that's going to be a case this evening. If you had the chance to watch our last AOS 93 board meeting regarding the budget, I think you saw a very spirited debate, lots of good conversation, lots of differences of opinion, but it was respectful of each other, and the tone was, I was very, very proud of it as the board chair. And I hope that that will be the case this evening. I am going to suggest an adjustment to the agenda, and that would be to allow for general public comment before we get into the specific of the warrant. So that would be for general comments regarding the budget that aren't specific to an individual warrant item. During the vote on the warrant, during each item, there will be a chance to talk about those specific warrant numbers as well. So I just want to say we'll have general comment right now. We'll limit it to say, because it's a big crowd, 2 minutes per person. I would ask that there be no need to repeat the same comment over and over again. We'll hear it, we'll acknowledge it. And then I'd also ask that the comments are civil and there are to be no comments regarding staff, either positive or negative. As if you have any questions about that, there's a flyer over there. Each of you could have picked up on the way, and on the back talks about public comments at school board meetings. So I just ask that we all be respectful of each other this evening. With that, if somebody would like to come to the microphone and make general budget comments, please, you can line up there, identify your name and your town, please.
Yeah, from Bristol. I think the budget stinks. Okay, it's twice what it was 4 years ago. Isn't that a lot? Am I kidding? I mean, come on, we're building a new school down there. And you're coming up with new positions left and right. I mean, 4 years ago, I don't see a business manager. I mean, I see all these new positions. We're not getting any more kids. What? I mean, come on, you doubled the budget in 4 years. Am I right? Did you answer? You know, I mean, you can answer for me.
I don't have the budget from 4 years ago.
Okay, well, there's one right here, okay? There it is, right there, 2020, $738,000. Now it's 1.4. You've doubled the budget in 4 years. And we can look through this, there's positions, there's 2 new positions since 4 years ago. High dollar position.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think.
Rob Nelson, Newcastle. I just want to say I've always been very supportive of the schools and the school system. I think that I want to say we. Oh, I guess.
Thanks, KJ.
Okay. Hello. Now. Yes, Rob Nelson, Newcastle. I just want to say I've been supportive of the school system and think that we've got a really good schools and want to continue that. Don't want to do anything to damage that. But I just, without repeating what was just said, I looked at the 2020 budget. So for over 5 years, the budget has gone from 716,000 to 1.38 million, which is a dramatic increase. We haven't had a dramatic increase in the school population. It would be helpful to get a sense of what has changed over time to cause that increase. Like that would be helpful for people to understand more than just the year-to-year change. That 5-year progression has been very dramatic, and I think it's interesting that the district is going through a process of looking at strategic options. And I think that if we were looking at a scenario where more functions were being centralized, then it makes sense to bulk up the central office. From the articles in the paper, it seems like most of the options that would significantly have significant cost savings in the AOS have been taken off the table. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's the impression that I got. So I think an explanation sort of how we've gotten where we are would be helpful. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Peter Davey. I'm a resident of Noble. Over the past 3 years, the superintendent's office costs to to our town has gone up $490,000, or 58.7%. This includes not only increases to pay, but the addition of positions that are not even in the interlocal agreement. This is unsustainable. I understand from the AOS 93 board meeting held last week, which I watched on YouTube, that we have certain employees who have fallen behind the curve significantly in their earnings, and I agree that we should make our best efforts to make them whole, albeit not necessarily in 1 year. The cost of living went up 3.2% this year. Military is giving a 5.2% increase, and yet the numbers that you're quoting would be a 10.2% increase across the board, not including the new position suggested. I do not understand why all of the senior staff are being budgeted for increases I have calculated in between 12 and 18%, the largest going to individuals already earning into the 6 figures. I have heard this is to protect against poaching, but I wonder if this process has been fully vetted. Have we done a comprehensive analysis of salaries of central office staff as they relate to other school districts of comparable size, either throughout the state or along the greater minimums? I have. Has this data been compiled from Maine Municipal? Has it been shared in writing with all of the school boards so that they can fully discuss the comparatives and implications before sending their representatives to the AOS budget review meeting? Is it being shared with the voting public? In the town of Noblesboro, your proposed increase would mean an additional $500 from my tax bill. That is not sustainable across the board. This affects every taxpayer in the 6 towns. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to elect a moderator for this meeting. Move to nominate Lorraine Faherty. Second. We have 3 votes to nominate Lorraine and have Lorraine serve as the moderator and to be sworn in right now.
I, Lorraine Faherty, do swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as moderator of this AOS 93 budget meeting, according to the Constitution of the United States, laws of the state of Maine, and the charter and ordinances of Damascus. So that's it. All right. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the floor. Okay.
You can take the microphone out if you want.
Things like this down here. Yes, really like, okay. So my name is Lorraine Faherty. I'm going to be your moderator for the night.
There it goes. Yeah, it's on.
Okay. There's some housekeeping things I have to do. I'm sure. Just gotta be close, okay. I don't know how you things that are required to do, although we start there. Let's see, let's observe the door there, there's the hallway and the restroom, so. From that hallway down to the left. Please turn off your cell phones if you haven't already done it. Can you hear me? I think you're in the back, so I'm.
Only close.
You better. The gentleman in the back said he could hear me, so I don't know what else to say. Okay, and, we're all around, so while we behave ourselves, if you still in the night, this is like. Involving budgets and money as a hot topic. Okay, the first thing is, I need a motion to. Allow non-residents of the towns involved to speak, which would be Peter Wilson, and so somebody. Motion for a second. Second. All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. So I'm going to read these articles one at a time. I need a motion in a second, and then we can have people come up tonight and come in and discuss. Reiterate what Matt said. If there are comments or just going to repeat what the last 3 or 4 people said, we're going to try to get a space to somebody who has some sort of the other point. Okay. Article 1, West from the AOS 93 will be authorized to expand for special education. The AOS school board committee recommends $331,709.74. Do I have a motion? Figure. And a second? All right, moved in second. Is there any discussion on this? State your name and what town you're from.
Wayne Carlin from Jefferson, school committee member. I move to amend Article 1, reduce it down to $314,079.74.
Sorry, can you repeat it? 314?
$209.74. That is a $17,500 decrease in that category based on salaries. I watched the AOS board meetings both November and December. There were a lot of discussion, as Dan just said, and a lot of it revolved around invalid arguments, revolved around competing with districts close to us, being competitive on wages and replacement costs. And I'd just like to say, and there's many ways to look at it, but the one way I'm looking at it today is you cannot compete in a wage war with neighboring districts, which is what it basically boils down to. And one of the reasons is district boards all around, much like school boards, that are made up of citizen representatives, not professional negotiators. Often, they will operate from a position of fear, and to avoid conflict and putting themselves in a difficult situation, they will agree to the request. The next part of the process will go on to the voters as it did here tonight. Historically, nobody shows up at these meetings except the staff members and the board members who basically already approved the budget, and it carries on. That becomes the new baseline in a district for salaries. And then the next district will take that argument to their district and increase their salaries. And it's a wage war that you cannot win. When we start talking about salary increases, quite often it revolves around percentages. And the law of larger numbers comes into play, because when we talk about a percentage on somebody making $40,000 to $50,000 versus the percentage of somebody making $100,000, there's quite a difference. I often hear thrown around equity and fairness all the time. Well, if line 12 of your budget, which is a $5,000 increase to that individual, on the lower end of the pay scale in the central office, is fair to them, then $5,000 increases to these other employees, instead of the 10, 12,
$16,000 increases. You've seen fair and equitable across the board, especially when people have stated the rising cost of education, even within our own schools, that the taxpayers have to absorb. We complain about inflation on a national level and everywhere. And here tonight, people in this room can have a little bit of say about how inflation will affect them a little bit on their taxes moving forward. If this amendment was to pass and this scheme continues, there's nearly $40,000 savings in this budget as we move through the other two articles. Thank you.
Do we have a second for any other discussion? Anyone else want to speak to it or against it? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to change Article 1 to be $314,209.74. And those opposed? Ready to count?
You wanna count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, people, in support of it, if you would put your cards up and just keep them up so we can count them.
I'll do this now.
This is supporting the amendment to reduce the loss.
$104,309.74.
You're voting on just the amendment.
To reduce the line by 17,500.
Okay, we'll count one more time. Sorry. No, you're on. Sorry, one more time. In favor of the amendment to reduce the line. Like wicked high,
Did you guess?
Oh, what do I need you for?
Okay, your cards down and those opposed.
The motion passes 41 to 20, no, sorry, 33.
Okay, so now we're back to Article 1, which is now amended to read. See what town AOS will be authorized to expend for special education. The amount would be $314,209.74. Motion for that. In a second. Second. Okay. Any discussion on article as amended? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 1 as amended? All those opposed? All right, seeing like the motion carries. All right. To see what AOS will be asked to expand for recruitment and expand support. AOS committee recommends $233,732.50. We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion on Article 2?
I move to reduce Article 2 to the amount of $114,209.50. That is,
I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
114,000,
100?
$114,209.50.
Do we have a second? Do we have any discussion on that?
The total amount of that is based on, salary increase with our previous team. And eliminating lines 40 through 49, new IT position that is currently in the budget. We currently contract that service, IT services, for 50 days. And that $22,000 roughly. I have left $23,000 in the budget. I did not take out the full amount of the IT specialist, which was over $137,000. So that the AOS board or the central office could supply IT services as they need, and I think everybody agrees the central office needs IT services. The AOS board struggled with this themselves. I watched the meetings, and they had good spirited discussions and a lot of good valid points. I don't know how many people here know, but 2 of the board members voted against it. They may explain why they voted against it if they so choose. Some others weren't sure of themselves, but took the easy route and said, well, let's leave it in the budget and send it out to the voters. So even they weren't 100% sold on it themselves. The AOS is basically a co-op of agreed upon shared services between the 7 towns in the district. To achieve this co-op, there was an interlocal agreement created, which was adopted by the 7 towns. We're gonna read from that co-op.
When you have 15 seconds.
Well, I hope you'll let me get through it. The AOS central office shall include without limitation a superintendent of schools, an assistant superintendent, a business manager, a transportation director, a special ed administrator, curriculum coordinator, provided that one person may hold more than one of these positions. We can drop down, the AOS committee shall be responsible for overseeing administration, transportation administration, special ed administration, related services, administration of business functions, payroll, financial management, purchasing, insurance, auditing, technology, coordination, and development and maintenance of a core curriculum and procedures for standardized testing aligned with the system of learning results for the member school units of the AOS.
Thank you.
Which is, let me finish.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, 4 years ago, just for some historical perspective. 4 years ago, that line was $52,000.
I talk from here, can people hear me?
Yeah, I'm recording, we'll pick that thread. Sorry. We can hear the tape recorded.
The problem that I have with the line items referring to IT, are that number 1, it is not part of the digital improvement. Number 2, 3 of the towns already have fully paid staff members to handle IT. The others do not. That is biased against the towns that have been progressive and have put it into their personal budgets that are paid by the taxpayers of their town. I can understand the logic of having someone at the AOS level who acts as a coordinator among the towns in an effort to bring organization and compatibility from one town to the other. But I cannot, nor have I seen any document that shows what all responsibilities need to be performed by someone at the AOS level to the tune of $150,000 package.
Can you identify yourself?
Peter J.
I just do want to clarify that all 5 towns do have technological support within the schools. And,
And in the packet is in.
your packet has the job description for the proposed position. And I will also say that, from my perspective, it's a position that is necessary and due. The world is changing dramatically with regards to technology. The folks who are in our schools are school-based, student-based, faculty-based, teacher-based. This is a position which is district-wide and would enable us not to have repetitive duties when we have to research things like AI, or we're subject to a ransomware attack. We don't have to have 5 individuals doing all the necessary research. We'll have somebody who is centrally located and can help all 5 schools. So that is part of the reason why I would support this position.
Yeah, but the schools aren't gonna get less money. I mean, the people doing that at the schools now aren't gonna take a pay cut. Right? Are they?
Hi, Sarah Mitchell, South Bristol. I just want to say, it is hard to hear back there. And I was going to say that it's helpful to have your input because you guys have been wrestling with this. So just hearing what you just said is helpful. I know some of this stuff, but having a little bit more input from you instead of just kind of having an audience run, I think would be helpful. Thank you.
So, good morning, Newcastle, and sorry, GSB Technology Coordinator. I'm in favor as a tech person in the district for having a district IT person. 4 main points, and I'm gonna make them quick. The reason that all the other districts around us have a technology director as a full-time position is so that there's one person doing the administrative work, focusing on security and communications, professional development, and staff technology training, and working to find schools money to help make schools' technology visions a reality. So there's gonna be cost savings to the schools where somebody can help with some brand work and additional money saving measures that can be found for a centralized position. School technology coordinators already have enough on their plate managing staff and student hardware, software, and accounts, while also trying to get into the classrooms and integrate technology into teachers' lessons, or to teach separate classes on coding, ethics, robotics, or digital citizenship. We don't want to take away that important goal for our current IT personnel in the schools. We want to do the administrative work from a centralized district position. The individual schools still maintain local control of what happens in their school, but there's a major benefit to finding efficiencies across the AOS, not only for budgeting and cost savings, but for systems management, but also professional development and collegial collaboration and discussion. We need a technology director to be able to help guide local decisions around technology platforms, but also help guide schools around shaping tech policy in a quickly changing technological world. A full-time position allows us to be proactive rather than reactive. And I'd also just say too that it's so many things have changed just in the past 5 years. When you look at budgets, technology moves so quickly. Things that we used to consider like buildings or facilities are now getting tagged under IT. Phone systems, security systems, communication systems, all that falls under the purview of IT. So thank you very much.
I am Stephanie Nelson from Newcastle, and I think it would be really helpful for everyone if you can explain this position a little bit more. I've been on the board, I've been in your seat, and we've discussed it, and I've been supportive of an IT person. But I actually am not clear whether this would be in addition to the, like, will there be cost savings in the individual schools? Or is this going to be in addition? Does that make sense? Because we already have IT in the schools that we're paying for, and I remember it was a shared position, and now will this be replacing that? So there'll be savings in the individual schools, or will this be something additional? Does that make sense? Just some explanation would be great. Thank you.
You want to address that?
Sure. The job description that's in the packet you have identifies the differences on what this position would do compared to the people in the school. Therefore, we'd be keeping the people that are in each school because they are working with staff and student devices and systems, not the cybersecurity and physical security systems. So it's in addition to. You can walk to the.
Can you go to the microphone?
As business manager of the Central School System,
Speak into it.
one of the things that, I took a look at when I was looking at this position and helping put together a budget for it and looking at what was, coming into the amount of time that the position would take, was the fact that it appeared to be, and everything that I was hearing from my colleagues and witnessing in schools and the finances I was seeing, the amount of time going into technology today and what's coming in the horizon, that putting one person in the central office prevents all 5 schools from having to add a second technology person. So that's the math, that's the numbers. You hire one person in a centralized location and you save 5 positions from each school.
Mr. Thor, Freeman. I was elected to the board 5 years ago in 2017. I served on the AOS board, and we were talking about this position then. And most board members at that time were feeling like this was absolutely a position that needed to be added. It's just each year we weren't quite ready. So I think it's high time, and there have been years of arguments behind it. But to KJ's point, I've got kids coming up in the system, and I want their school to have somebody teaching technology, somebody who's skilled at teaching technology, to be in the classroom teaching technology and not doing administration. That feels very important to me, and I know from being in the field that that administration is just growing, especially in the realms of cybersecurity threats. And then also in the positive realm of grant opportunities. There's actually a lot of grant funding coming down the pipe through Congress's new broadband and digital equity laws, which schools can access, but you need somebody who has time to write applications, for instance, to $350,000 that GSB's technology person secured for all day. So
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. I just want to follow up real fast on that. You've seen this type of capacity prove fruitful for GXP this year, received over $300,000 to support security measures because of this type of capacity. So baking that in at the AOS level would ensure that all 5 schools have access to the same level of resources and essentially a position that could fund itself over the long term.
Good evening, Jose Douglas, KB1PCD, what I go by, from Bristol. And your numbers look great. I mean, the numbers are awesome. If we were in New York, but we are in Maine, okay? This is Maine. We don't have this kind of money. And there's a little disconnect here. Superintendent salary, $150,000. Assistant superintendent, $22,000. Really? What the?
We are discussion on the proposed to Article 2, not the salaries at this point.
Well, you are discussing a salary for $130,000, and I agree they should have an IT person that should not be paid more than $40,000 a year, and maybe should be a volunteer position. I'm a ham radio operator, and I know people that are 90 years old that can do a better IT than you people can, and most people that are younger can do, and they can write programs with their eyes closed, and they have experience over 60 years. So I think that $130,000 in a position is ridiculous. We're taxpayers. We can't afford it in Maine. Maybe people from away can. We can't do it. I'm sorry. And our tax burden is already high. And the taxes have already gone high in Bristol because of the big school budget that we got in there for no more students. It doesn't make any sense. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin Miller. I'm from Newcastle. I am a parent of a GSB student who is very technology focused, I will admit, and I have also done this job at a different school prior to my current career. I was a tech director for about 5 years, so I have experience with this. And at the same time, from around I can't remember when I started, and I'm doing work in this area now for a startup company, and there is no way that this will continue to be a one-person job in the school. The amount of needs the students have and the teachers have, it's just too much work, and it's not something that can just not be done. We can't just say, okay, we don't want to have IT, we're just going to use books. It can't be done today. That's not a possibility. We have to have the role. We need to be done right. And unfortunately, this is the cost of this kind of position. It is not an easy job. It takes a ton of knowledge, it takes a ton of experience, and it is a really hard job to fill. I tried to fill my replacement at the former school I worked for, and that was 5 years ago, before the pandemic, and we got about 2 applicants at a salary of $50,000 a year 5 years ago, and they were completely unqualified for the job. They had about 25% of the skills needed to do the work. If we want this done right, it's gonna cost money and it has to be done. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Louise, I live in Bristol. My husband is an IT professional. He's worked at the Fortune 500 level in consulting for the past 25 years. He's served as a network engineer in a couple companies, and he is a large systems environmental expert. And this is a salary on par with someone of his experience. This salary at $150,000 for the total package is excessive for the skills and expertise that would be required for this position, especially in a school district of 1,500 students. It's just not justifiable.
Would it be clear about the numbers though?
Yeah, please, Peter, please
Yeah.
clarify the amount. Peter.
What's the part to you then? Appreciate everybody's comments and, I always know I'm listening to everybody, but I want to make sure you're actually looking at the right numbers. Everybody looks at these and, makes different assumptions. So this position that is being, requested in this budget for an IT director for the AOS. If you could look at, line, you just get to it myself, there's a second point, line 40. Why I went through it the wrong way. IT director salary. That salary is $98,250. It is not $150,000. Why people are saying 150? It's not because they're wrong, right? It's because they're adding several things that come with it. I just want to make sure everybody knows what they are. It's a standard package that essentially all employees at the school receive. It comes with a full family health insurance, and that is under there on line 42. Which is $29,223. So that essentially $30,000 is what a full family costs, and that's what every teacher gets and every other employee gets who qualifies for full family health insurance. And when we build a budget, we don't know who the employee is that's on the position. We should put in the most expensive amount, because that's the piece of likelihood we're going to get somebody who has a family. The other piece is here, it's a requirement that we plan for if that person's on a teaching contract, we have to pay in-state retirement. And that is a $4,200 cost. There's the tax benefits that come with it, $1,800. And they need to attend some workshops, et cetera. There's another $2,000 there. So it does add up to 140 something, the whole package. But it is not a $150,000 salary, it is a $98,000 salary.
$150,000 package.
I don't, yes, you're absolutely right, sir.
Yeah.
It is a $150,000 package. I just want to make sure everybody realizes there isn't somebody who would ever be paid a salary of that much. The $98,000 salary is set on a teacher contract for a teacher that paid for 180 days, and this is 260 days position. So it's looking at somebody with a fair amount of teaching experience and transferring that number over there, because that's what you think you would be looking for if you would fill that position. So, there's nobody right or wrong here. I just want to make sure you understand why these specific numbers are in the budget, how they add up to what they are, and how they are calculated. Thank you.
I don't see anyone else standing up, so, we would be voting on the amendment article 2, which would change the amount to $114,209.50.
Yeah. Speak right into the mic.
Speak right into the mic.
Yeah.
We would be voting on the proposed amendment to the Article 2, which would change the dollar amount to $114,209.50. $209.50. All those in favor of the amendment? I can't think we're gonna I really have to count it. All those opposed to the amendment? Yeah, I definitely think we're gonna do that. Okay. All those in favor? Cards down, in favor, put your cards up and hold them up there, so just like hold them like this, one lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ma'am.
All right, put your cards down, those opposed to the amendment?
Make sure you're both counting this table.
I got it. Okay.
This one.
The amendment fails 50 to 32.
How does it fail 50 to 32?
32 to 51. He
50
said, oh,
people voted against the amendment and 32 voted in favor of the amendment.
Share the numbers together. 34, I mean, 32 for and 50 against.
Correct, I said it failed.
Can we get that count again? Because I think there are a lot of people who are confused on what they're voting for.
Let's try this one more time. We are voting on the amendment to Article 2, which would change the dollar amount to $114,209.50. Those in favor of the amendment for the lesser amount, cards up and keep on.
You done? Nope. Okay, I got it.
All right, so let's start down and then votes against the amendment.
I didn't know. And I got it. You got them? Yeah, so it's a little bit different, but only by one vote, both sides, so it still failed.
what was the final vote?
Sorry. We got
In favor then
In
opposed?
favor was
19. 29 no, and 54 yes.
No.
The other way around. 99.
Can you do that count again?
99 in favor of the amendment.
I think there's an amendment.
Right, sorry. Sorry, it failed, anyway, failed. Do you want to count again?
No, I just want to make sure we have the right numbers.
Correct.
The larger number of the second count.
Read.
Are against the amendment.
Yes.
The amendment
Okay.
failed with a vote of 54.
Point of order, Becky, should I report for the minutes, or for the minutes when we did the vote twice?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll have to submit it.
Yep.
Neither time. All right, so now we're back to Article 2. We had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on Article 2? Which now reads, to see what some of the AOS will be authorized to expand for student and staff support. School committee recommends $233,732.50. Is there any other discussion on that, sir?
Peter Davy, member, speaking personally, problem to me is the amount of money that is trying to be added to the budget for this position as a total package this year. I don't question that there is a need. IT is changing very rapidly. And there are some schools within the AOS that have a person on board, and I do understand the logic of letting them do what they're hired to do instead of having to take on additional responsibilities. While I can't necessarily offer a number, I'd like to throw out that there's a compromise in here somewhere where we work our way into this position. I'm not prepared to make a proposal on what that compromise is, but I think there might be more favorability toward doing something that builds for the future as opposed to it all going down our throats in 1 year of tax increases. Thank you.
Any other comments on Article 2? All right. Moving on. Those in favor of Article 2, we're going to $233,732.50. Any, all those in favor?
Can we do a count, Becky, please?
For real?
Yeah, please.
What's that?
Yeah. Okay, first down. Yeah. Please, all right, all those opposed.
$51 yes and 36 no.
Thank you. But moving on to Article 3. Let's see what some of the AOS will be authorized to expand for the administration. The school committee recommends $817,983.25. Do I have a motion for approval? Yeah, motion, we have a second. Okay. All right, any discussion on Article 3?
4 years ago, $556,000. And I know you spent a lot of time on restructuring stuff, we're talking about it this year. But doubling the budget in 4 years is why it will never happen. It is, the front of the dollar gets away from your pocket.
Any other discussion, sir?
I move to reduce Article 3, the amount of $801,258.25. That is reducing lines 50 and 75 in your budget. The superintendent's salary increase, and business manager's increase, both back down to $5,000, such as the previously in Article 1.
I want to confirm 801,258.25.
Yes.
Any discussion on the proposed amendment?
You don't have a second, you have a second yet?
We had a first and a second.
Okay.
Sorry, we have a second. I think we have a second. Any discussion on the proposed amendment?
Peter. Yeah, I just want to, I take some responsibility for throwing out the original numbers that went to the AOS board and to all of you. So I want to talk to you about a bit about how I reached the numbers. I have a position in which I'll be hired before
You're gonna speak right into it.
3-year. I get tasks on me, throwing out the first numbers in the budget. And I have to do that for salaries people as well as supplies and everything. So I do some work, to do that. I don't just throw out numbers that I'd like to see something get paid, or numbers that I think would be nice if we could keep it to that. I actually do the research and I spend my time doing it. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the work I did to do that. I met with a gentleman at the Department of Labor at the Center for Workforce Research. And I asked him, we've noticed a lot of changes in how much people get paid in the state name over the last couple of years from COVID and everything. And I just want some direct input, some data from the Department of Labor on what kind of salary increases are fair to taxpayers in Maine. We're sitting here, we got 7 towns in the mid-coast. People got to come up with this money. It's hard. But you also have to keep people working, keep this thing going. What is the fair number? I said, everybody gets sent to office, we did blanket raise 5% last year because we're doing our best to make increases to keep up with inflation, but are we? And so he gave me these numbers that are here behind me. And what he pointed out to me, and what he asked me to pay attention to is in the last 24 months. So since we did this work, 2 years ago. Wages in Maine, the average of all salaries and wages in Maine have gone up 12.9%. And last year, taxpayers grew a 5% increase for the people working within this budget. Which means that a 7.9% increase would keep them at a level point with the market is changing, okay? So that's not counting the fact that I see all the people that I'm working with in the office, doing professional development, gaining skills, going out and working to learn how to do their job better, everything. So there's no accounting for performance improvement and additional responsibilities and just years of service if they were to receive a 7.9% increase. So I went through and I tried to look at something that was 8 or 9%. Thinking that's a couple percentage points above the level margin. And I thought that was a fair number which talks out in the budget while we look right. I also looked at what the costs of system administration, that's the cost that we're talking about right now. What if the towns in Maine, what are they paying for that? And so I got some data from the Maine Department of Education. And I asked, what is every school in the whole state, the average that they're paying for the job of system administration, which generally includes the superintendent of business office and the assistant superintendent or a good chunk of the assistant superintendent. And that state average is 3.31% of your school budget is generally for system administration. So we can look at it. If 3.31 is the average, what do we pay? So Bristol is paying 2.3. Millborough is paying 2.58. Newcastle is paying 2.63. Jefferson is paying 2.61. Great Salt Bay is paying 3.18. Darren Scott is paying 3.18. Bristol is paying 2.64. And only New England is paying more than the state average at 3.77. So 6 of our 7 towns are able to pay less than the average of all other towns in the state.
So what? What's that got to do with anything? Hey, well, yeah, when you look at it, you pointed to me, you got it. I'll refute it in a minute. Huh?
Please give me my time. I also took a look at, all the salaries and the mid-coast of what people in these positions are getting paid. And I did that so that I could offer everybody an understanding of what the market around looks like. And I have here all the salaries for the superintendent's assistant, superintendent's business managers, and sped director, up and down the coast from Brunswick to Camden Rock. I also looked at some of the other outliers around that, and I actually have almost, I don't know how much I have, because we get it from the Green School Management Association, collects it and distributes it, but not everybody goes it in. I gotta go through budgets in some towns and policy places. But what I have found is that superintendent salaries, you know, you might have some tiny little schools out there that are just sort of like one K-8 school with a superintendent or something, and they might start around 2,000. Then you get up to yards, 176,000. And you have pretty much everything in between, depending on a great variety of factors. And I have a lot of data on all those factors. But, you know, I also look at the fact that when we're talking about these numbers here, we're talking about salary. That's all our superintendent, and that's all these positions get in the salary. The package that I'm aware of can't not only includes salary, it includes a 30% of the salary increase for that was in the contract says you get that in lieu of benefits, additional 30%. And it also has a $10,000 annuity to go towards the 401k, $10,000 in tuition. It adds up to a $340,000 package. Now that is, by my own admission, outrageous. Okay, but that's how high things get. But when I try to look at what's going on right here locally, because this is a competitive workforce, no matter what you say about it, we see that the 5-town Camden Rockport superintendent salary and not in the budget that currently and not next year's. All right, the 170,658. Waldeboro, RSU 40, superintendent salary, 165,000. Rockland, superintendent salary, 159,744. RSU 1 Bath, 157,123.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, do you intend to limit the time at the microphone?
No, I do not. Please explain the budget.
Brunswick, superintendent's 155,438. And AOS 93 is 133,875. With the data that I collected, the only rational thing for me to do in service to the taxpayers who have asked me to give them a sustainable school system financially and to submit it to the board for their approval. And so that they can bring it to the taxpayers here, is to put the numbers into the budget that I have. This is the data that is real. This is the reality. This is the unfortunate, scary reality of how costly things are. But I just want to make sure you understand these numbers. It's pulled up there. Thank you.
Thank you.
4 years ago, we didn't even have a business on. Okay, now it's up, no, you were hired to do the business, right? 4 years ago, you were hired for 97,000 to do the business, but they called it. Am I wrong?
Your customer was here before me as business manager.
Huh? 4 years ago, you were hired for $97,000 as an assistant administrator, assistant superintendent. Right?
Assistant superintendent / business manager for business.
Well, it's assistant, okay, but there was no business, it was assistant you paid as an assistant superintendent.
No, we've always had a business manager.
Well, it's not written here, okay, this is the budget.
We've always had a business manager. The difference is those positions were realigned to be more efficient. And so now the business
Okay.
manager position went back to a full-time business manager. And the director of curriculum, which was a half-time
Right.
position, realigned with the assistant superintendent.
But we always didn't have an assistant superintendent.
No,
Right. See, so the jobs are just coming up left and right.
well,
She
no,
was the first assistant,
No.
but she was hired as a business manager.
no, the
No?
previously to her, the business manager was also a business manager, and assistant.
Well,
superintendent.
here, let's just look. I mean, there's no business. office 4 years ago with the budget, right? It's not there.
Yeah.
Well, there is no business office mentioned in this budget
And
4 years ago.
This is one of the sites where he's actually realigned to make,
Right,
better
no, I
use
know that,
of
but
the
there's
money.
also other positions been created in the meantime.
there's been 2 positions created.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
The first one is.
That's all I'm saying.
Is the assistant director of pupil services for special education. And the second one, which isn't created yet, but as of right now, we have approved it in the budget so that further discussion can happen on that. But those are the two major positions that have been created in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Thank you.
That's to Article 3.
Excuse me, can I ask for a clarification from Peter, not argument, okay? Yes, Peter, the numbers that you're quoting, okay? Do they reflect in any way the number of years of service, the degrees of professional development that each of these superintendents have achieved? So that when we make a comparison of people, whether it be the superintendent or anyone else, who will bring on to the office staff, that we are recognizing where they actually stand in the educational, professional development pecking order, because in business, that too plays a role in salaries. They work their way up to certain levels of success. So do those numbers reflect any of that?
Thanks, Eric, but actually, I'm glad you asked that because I spent a lot of time looking at just the data that he did. And for each of these people, I have the data on whether or not they have a master's, a doctorate, or a certificate or they're in a study. Maybe that's a, program you can attend without a degree, post master's program, or something, or whether they have a bachelor's. And I also looked at the numbers of years they have in education. And the truth is, after trying to create some kind of pattern from all that, there isn't any. The people that are in the sort of lower middle part of this chart have PhDs, and the people at the very top just have masters. The people at the very top have no more or less experience than the people at the very bottom. So it all comes down to, a school system negotiating with their superintendent. And it's a free market, and that's all there is. I have the data for the entire, I have all this, I have maybe half the districts. And I went through that trying to say, I look at myself, I'm 60 years old, I've been running businesses since I was 18, I have a huge amount of experience. Does that add up to anything? Not really. I'm just as good as what I do for you guys at, tonight. So you would think that there could be some pattern in that, the data's there. It does not work like the teacher contracts. The teacher contracts say, if you have this certain degree and this number of years of service, you get paid this much. But these administrative positions are all just fair market negotiation. And the patterns that you're asking if they exist don't, though the data does. The other question that I want, or the other response I want to have to you is, when I build a budget, put salaries in it, I completely have to put my blinders on, who's going to receive this paycheck. And I've explained that every time I present this budget. This is not a salary that is a raise for anybody in their current position. This is what I'm bringing to this board to say, I want to make sure you have enough money in your budget to survive any transitions of turnover in your team. Because if you're going to hire someone, if Lindsay were to leave tomorrow morning, they have been this for July 1st, and the school board has to have the money to replace her. I want to make sure they have $150,000 in the bank, because that's what I think they're going to need. I do not make a recommendation for anybody's raise, other than a couple people on my own team. But none of these positions do I make a recommendation for their raise. If anybody who received these raises, they would go through the due process of this entire board, sitting down and doing a performance evaluation and determining whether or not any of the money that's appropriated is awarded in a raise. You're not handing out raises tonight. You're giving the AOS board ample money to sustain the school system.
The question I would ask.
I'm sorry, the recording doesn't pick it up.
So the question I would ask, since we're voting on a very large percentage of the budget. Where does it go? Where does it end? We've been looking at significant double-digit increases for 3 or 4 years. Where are we going? What is this doing to the taxpayers in our towns? How do we sustain the residents of the towns tax rates that are likely to go up as these numbers would indicate? Year after year after year, where does it end?
Rob Nelson, Newcastle again. I just want to point out that I've served on boards in various entities. When you put a number in the budget to prepare for the future, you're basically undermining any negotiating position you have. If it's an applicant, the applicant can see your budget, they know what you've got. If it's a current employee, they know what your budget is, so they're going to ask for it. To say that it's a free negotiation and that these numbers are just the market really doesn't hold water. I understand why you work it that way, but just that's not the way things work in the law.
Thank you. If I may add just a couple of comments, having served in this role for a number of years now, having worked with 2 superintendents in this district, if we still employ the former superintendent, his salary, if we just took his salary and raised it by 5% each year, would be over close to $160,000 this year. I just want to point that out. Second, I want to echo what Peter said. This is not awarding the superintendent $150,000. This is reserving $150,000 in the budget. We will review her performance as we do every spring, and then we will award her salary. And the same is true of the other people in the budget. And I will just say from the bottom of my heart, we're blessed to have the administrative team in our central office that we have this year. They are better than ever. And to shortchange them to raises of $5,000, under 4% for the superintendent, is just so very short-sighted if we approve that amendment. And so I beg you not to approve this amendment.
Any other comments? Okay,
One more.
Sorry. Sorry, up before and then I went back and was
Yeah. So, you know, as I was listening to the inputs that we got from the consultant, the salaries that he pointed out that were in excess of the current salary and the $150,000 proposed salary are in areas where there are many more students than we have in this school district. Again, this is a school district of 1,500 students. The position was filled just a year ago at 133,000, 135,000 is the statewide average that I'm finding. So again, 150,000 seems excessive given our population and the size of our school district.
anyone else? Peter?
I just want to point out that there's actually no difference between the number of students at the top of this list and what we have here in our school system. I worked at the Camden Rockport school system. Superintendent's paid $170,000 for 2 years as the finance director. I know the enrollment. The enrollment is almost exactly the same as the enrollment in our school system. I also know the workload in that central office. They do everything twice, once for the 5-time CSD and once for the SAP 28. We do everything 9 times. The amount of times that your superintendent is required to serve at night, school committee meetings, is 9 times that of the average superintendent in Maine. It is an untenable situation. Period.
Gentlemen, has moved the question. All those in favor of The AOS will be authorized to expand her system administration. The school committee has recommended $817,000.
Lorraine, amendment.
There's an amendment.
Voting on the amendment. Yeah, that was the discussion for the
Oh,
amendment.
I was pretty- I haven't voted on it. My bad. All right, so the amendment was
Into the microphone.
801-258-25. Is that right? Okay. So all those in favor of the reduced amendment, the 801? And sorry, ladies, but
We're gonna count.
we're gonna have to count
Thank you.
all of these. But we are now voting in favor of the amendment. Just in favor of the reduced amount amendment.
I got it.
Okay, all those opposed to the amendment. I got it. And,
Is it the same math?
yeah,
Yes, 34, no, 44.
okay, so the amendment has failed. We're now back to, Article 3. Article 3, the sequence on the AOS will be authorized to expand for administration. The school committee recommends the $817,383.25. All those in favor? If you're voting, you won't vote like this. Okay, all those opposed to Article 3.
Sorry. No, I just adjusted my glasses. Scary, isn't it? 45 yes, 34 no.
Okay, Article 3 has passed. Okay, Articles 4 through 11, all the recommended amounts are zero. We still have to go through them one by one. Sorry, it's shade one. Article 4, what some of the AOS will be authorized to expand the regular instruction. The AOS school committee recommended 0. Do I have a motion? Second.
0.
Okay. Any discussion on extending 0?
I'd just like to ask on all these articles, what the real purpose is for. They're more like a localized school budget proposal or an RSU budget proposal. By voting yes, we do 0, probably do anything, if I understand it. But if I was to vote against them, then maybe Peter, somebody explain what this actually is designed to achieve.
I wish I could explain what an AOS itself is going to be. I can't, but we have received handed down to us over the years, a way to do it that establishes precedent for how this community passes its school budgets. And we do our best to stick to that, and we don't strive and nothing to throw you off. And this is the way you've always done it. I can tell you this though, I think you're right. A long way to do so. Better than I can follow. If we were to put $1 in it, we would be keeping that article open to allow us to transfer money into it. But by keeping it zero, we close it out and we can never do any business in that area. So the zeros amount to that we will not provide regular instruction, we will not provide clear direction. That's the way I understand it. I can't be certain without calling John Woods right now, whether or not I'm right about that, and they come back in about 2 weeks with the answer. But I'll stand before you tonight and say that the zeros here, the votes we're asking for, that these zeros, that we don't intend to do business in these areas, and we won't transfer any money into them. And that you do it this way because that's the way it's going to be always done. That's the only answer I can give you.
So if we were to vote no on all of these, all the way down, we may not see them because apparently they're not necessary.
I'd be happy to explore this between now and the next budget year, but that's the only explanation I can give you now. I really can't.
It's not your fault, but it's not very good.
Okay. I accept that reason. Thank you.
All those in favor? All those opposed to Article 4? Article 4 carries. Article 5, to see what some AOS will be authorized to expand for career and technical education. And the school committee has recommended 0. Motion? Second? Any discussion on number 5? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 5? All those opposed to Article 5? Article 6, see what some AOS will be authorized to extend for other construction. Second, any discussion on Article 5? Done. No discussion, all right, all those in favor of Article 6? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 7, to see what some AOS will be authorized to extend for children. We recommend 0. Motion. Second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed to Article 7? Motion carries. Article 8, to see what some AOS will be authorized to expand for transportation and buses. School committee recommends 0. Motion second, okay. All those in any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 9, to see what some AOS will be authorized to extend for facilities maintenance. School committee recommends 0. Discussion. Second. All right. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor. All those opposed. Article 10. To see what some AOS will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School committee recommends 0. Motion. Second. All right, discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries. Article 11, to see what sum the AOS will be authorized to expend for all of their expenditures. Committee recommends 0. Motion second. Discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries. Next one, number 12, is I kind of changed it.
Yes, yeah, so that's gonna be voted by $17,480.
Yeah.
And then the new number that we were asking for Article 12 is $1,350,000.
$365,345.49.
Hey, that's.
$1,365,000, $345.49. $1,365,345.49.
And that's because of the change that you approved in Article 12. That's a new total. All right, Article 12, to see what some of the AOS will authorize AOS 93 school committee to expand to the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June 30, 2025.
Lorraine, I'm gonna interrupt here. I think just for like the record's sake, we need to move to amend Article 12 to be that new amount. It just doesn't become that new amount.
Yes. Schools.
I think we should,
It's just an ask change. but-
Yes.
because we've already agreed to change one, and it's just adding those numbers.
We have to vote on every article.
I would amend it.
You have to-
I think.
I would amend it.
I think it's- Yeah.
Do we have a motion to amend Article 12, so that the school committee recommendation is to be.
No, the school
No,
committee
just
recommendation.
to reflect Article 1 as amended.
Right.
So move to amend Article 12 to reflect the amendment for Article 1 to a total of $1,365,345.49.
That's
my motion.
That's the motion.
right, it's, and only this one thing says, I guess, only the school committee votes on that because it's your,
No.
No,
everybody has to. Okay,
I'll second.
we have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion of the, this math?
Yeah, I have a question, point of order. I don't agree with that at all. This should strictly be adding up the numbers. If we re-vote on something that we've already voted to approve, and that comes out differently, then it's simply math here.
It's a math error.
I mean, laws in the system aside, we have to vote on every article for the same reason we have to vote to.
We are voting on the article.
We did it, we voted on Article 1 and this is the.
So-
But the article is written, which is the matter of public record.
I would defer to.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to the town clerks, who are experts in this matter, who are saying we need to amend.
My question is, so before we get too far, my question is, because this is a recommendation from the school committee.
No, we recommended a higher number, and that number has
The
changed,
taxpayers amended that.
so we need to amend it,
All right, so.
so it agrees with us three subtotals.
Start over again. We have a motion on the floor, and I think a second, to amend Article 12 to reflect the, change on Article 1. So the new math would now reflect $1,365,345.49. All in favor?
Hold on. Yeah, I hear everything you said, I'm not voicing their opinion. If the audience votes it down, what happens? Go back to the drawing board.
What? Yeah, the audience. So these numbers, this number actually for the AOS school committee has recommended, the number is there. The number that the towns have voted on and recommended is not there present. What she had just said is the number that the towns voted on. So we, as a board, recommend the $1,382,825. The community recommends already, we've already gone through that, and we recommended $1,365,345.49. And so I do not understand why we will vote on an amendment to the town's recommendation.
We're not recommending a number, the town, we voted on it.
Yeah, you already voted.
We're not recommending anything, we voted. It's a fact.
Yeah, so we need, we need to amend.
Yeah, well, I know, but if
So-
I voted down,
I would just encourage everyone to vote in favor of this amendment to make this process go incredibly smoothly, and we can get to the final budget vote.
Say, is there anybody opposed to us changing the map on this to reflect what the voters already approved? Anybody have a minute that? Close enough then.
So you need the motion and the.
We have a
vote
motion and a second.
So that it officially changes the public record. This is what was posted. So somebody looking at it later isn't gonna know that that was mapped.
Yeah.
So it's just procedure to change the public record.
Okay.
Thank you. So we do the standard vote.
All those in favor of changing amending Article 12 to correct down to be 1,365,45,49. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Yeah, that's what I'm Article 12. To see what some of the AOS will authorize the AOS 93 school committee to expand their fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, ending June 30, 2025, and support AOS 93 central on this budget. The voters have amended and recommend $1,365,345.49. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, I circled this second.
I just, one quick thing, I like to see how this breaks down to impact individuals. And if you look at the proposed increase on an annual basis, based on the per capita of our district, it's less than $21 per year per person in the district is the increase that we're talking about. Less than $21 per year per person in the AOS is what we're voting to approve. So it seems very minor in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the efficient delivery of the education for the students in our 9 separate towns, 7 towns and 5 schools.
but it's death by $1,000.
Thank you.
You know?
I call the question.
All right. You ready to vote? All right, all those in favor?
This is the amended number.
Yes.
1,365,345.49. All right, all those opposed?
Oh, no.
All right, we're going to carries. All right, Article 13. Shall the AOS 93 school committee be authorized to extend such other funds as may be received from federal grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for technical office purposes, provided that some grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of good funds not previously approved. We have a motion for Article 13. And a second? All right, any discussion? Yes, sir.
Just one quick comment.
It's a recording.
I would like to inform everybody that grants are not free money. I am taxed for those grants. The government taxes me on those grants. There's no such thing as free money. Grants come, why do we have inflation? Grants is a big problem with it. Grants are not free money. It's federal money. Who gets the federal money? Our taxes, our federal taxes. So just think about it. Grants, it's not free money. Thank you.
Point of clarification. Federal grants are one source of funding. There are numerous private philanthropic endeavors that support education in this country that have no impact whatsoever on the taxpayer.
He's talking about federal or state grants, yes.
Grants are not free money, but you've already been taxed, the government's already taken it from your pocket. Would you rather it come to you or go to somebody else? Because they're not gonna say that.
Okay, one other gentleman here. Your state your name and town, please.
Stan Wilson over. We just voted on Article 4 through 11 with 0 balance. How can we vote on 12 and give you permission to spend money that we don't even know this is gonna be, how much it is?
often come with strings attached, and it can come with heavy requirements on the community. The citizens of the community should always know what those requirements are before those grants are accepted. That is a right to know of the citizens.
If I could address that, I believe the second part of the amendment, the article says, provided that such grants, programs, others are that do not require the expenditure of other funds previously appropriated. So there's a built-in clause there.
And I think also that's why we have members of our school boards who are engaged in these conversations in the management of our district that should be informing the members of the public in these conversations.
Any other comments? All those in favor of Article 13? All those opposed? Motion carries.
So I just like to say thank you to everybody for participating, and I would encourage you to continue to participate even in years that aren't. But thank you very much for coming out tonight, participating in the content. Thank you. And we'll all-